Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. As children, we learned the importance of sharing our toys. Today in the rLounge, this mother-in-law takes that a little too literally. I'm 27 female, and my husband Jake, fake name, is 27 male. My mother-in-law's always had some strange behavior towards my husband, but I'm only just fully realizing how weird, putrid, and inappropriate she actually is because of what I recently walked into. I guess looking back now, I sort of see signs that I didn't see before, and I really regret not trying to protect my husband more or try to say something before. But it's all unfortunately in hindsight. I always just thought that's sort of how his family did things, and I never really thought it was my place to say anything. But first, some backstory. My husband and I have been together for 10 years. We started dating in our senior year. Back in high school, my husband used to play football and was working his way up to getting a scholarship. He always told me that he didn't actually want the scholarship. He said that he always felt pressured from his parents. His dad was the top dog back in the day and got the scholarship and even played for pro a bit before starting up his own real estate company. His mom, Barb, just sort of became his trophy wife. She was the pretty, blonde cheerleader girlfriend that everyone wanted to be and everyone wanted to date. Anyways, I saw glimpses of the way his parents pressured him when we were younger. They forced him into really tough, demanding, and regulative schedule. His mom would actually touch his abs and tell him that he looked good, or she wished his dad still looked like that. It was awkward, but it was sort of regular, and Jake never said anything. He just sort of laughed it off. And after we started getting serious, Jake wanted to play football less and was looking at starting up trade school to go up north. His parents hated that. And I remember him telling me that his parents hated the influence I had on him and blamed me for the fact that he was skipping practice. Because he was skipping practice and not following the strict dictatorship regime anymore, he may or may not have lost a few pounds. And so sometimes his parents would even tell him that he thinned out and looked like a stick, so it made him feel crappy about himself. Other times, his mom would point out his washboard abs or his hot six-pack. Yeah, she used the word hot with her only son. Now that I think of it, she actually said some weird things after my husband and I started doing the deed as horny little love bugs, as if she was creeping on us or something. She once said, "I know what you're doing behind the furnace," which is funny because we went behind there to do the deed, so we weren't in the living area of the basement. So she must have either heard, which is highly unlikely, or she was peeking through some hole somewhere. Anyways, that was always weird. And to top it all off, she always kissed him on the lips. I mean, to this day. Well, not anymore because we aren't talking to her. But for real, a grown-ass man kissing his mother on the lips. Oh, and she'd walk around with her bra and underwear on around the house, even when I was there. It's like she was trying to show off her body or something. I mean, she looked good for her age. She didn't work for a living. She went to yoga and Pilates every day, so yeah. And I'm pretty sure she had a boob job. But anyways, it was weird. But particularly after we told them we were expecting our first, then she really got weird and started asking really inappropriate questions, and I caught her snooping around our place at one point. We hosted a family dinner at one point to tell everyone about the pregnancy, and she had gone upstairs to use one of our guest washrooms. Well, I had quite a bit of water to drink, and being pregnant, I had to relieve myself. So I had gone upstairs to use our bathroom in our master suite, and I found my mother-in-law snooping through my side table. And if you know anything, you know not to snoop through anyone's side table because you never know what sort of treats or trinkets and secret delights you might find. I'm like, Barb? I knew what she had seen in there, and she kind of just acted like in denial, and she said she was looking for Tylenol. So then I told her that it's downstairs above the stove and that Jake can get it for her. And she didn't even apologize or look unfazed. She just sort of giggled and went downstairs. And I'm like, ew. So I tell Jake later that night, and he's like, that's really weird. Why would she do that? And I'm like, yeah. What did she expect to find? I'm like, she's been here so many times. I'm sure she knows where the Tylenol is. He kind of just wrote it off as something his weird mother did and didn't really say anything after that. Then, shortly after that, she started bringing gifts over. On one time in particular, she brought me over a gift bag with little face masks and nail polishes and slippers. But when Jake went to open his, he saw that it was a certain adult toy specifically for men that they put a certain body part in for solo time. And she's looking at him with a big, huge smile on his face, and she says, "This is for when OP is too pregnant to take care of you." And I was like, And Jake was like, Mom, what the F? And she's like, it's the in thing for guys out there now. And Jake stuffed it in the bag and was like, thanks, but no thanks. That's extremely inappropriate. And she was like, whoa, I'm not trying to step on toes. I've been there before. I know what it's like to try to get things working when you're 8 and 9 months pregnant. I just want to make sure you're taken care of. Then he's like, okay, that's enough. So yeah, that was weird. Then, on another occasion, she started asking intimate questions about how we conceived. And then I'm like, I don't think that's a conversation I want to have with our baby's future grandma. And she goes, oh, no, I'm not grandma. And I'm like, okie dokie. I mean, I get it. Some women don't like being called grandma. I've heard Nana, Cece, Glamma, or Diva, but I didn't ask what she wanted to be called in that moment. I couldn't have cared less in that moment. Then she started calling him babe, baby, daddy, and daddy. Daddy was interesting because she said it with this weird tone, but she was never overly excited to be a grandma. She was excited to have a baby in the house again, as if it was her house. She never called herself a grandma or a grandparent. Someone once cracked a joke and was like, oh, I bet grandma's really excited. And she's like, I'm mama. And then they were like, I think mama is usually reserved for the actual mother there, Barb. And people just sort of laughed it off. Another time, I want to say that I didn't catch her drinking my mother's milk tea. If you don't know, this tea helps pregnant women in their breastfeeding journey and helps them produce breast milk. But I'm pretty sure I caught her taking a box from my stash of tea. I know I had bought 3 boxes to prepare. She went into the cupboard earlier to grab something, and then when I went in there later, the boxes just sort of caught my attention. A few days later, we were at their place, and I went to throw out some used tissues in the garbage and saw a ripped mother's milk tea bag packet in the garbage. I really want to say that I hope she's not drinking it. Why would she be drinking that? Is she trying to produce milk? God, I hope not. That's next level. So then, skip to giving birth. She insisted on being there, and granted, Jake actually called her for help because baby was coming earlier than planned, and my mom was still out of town. So while we're in the room and I'm having contractions, instead of just sitting there quietly or helping me, she was standing next to Jake. She's basically wrapped around him, holding his hand, and the whole thing is just making me nauseous. When he's finally sleeping and trying to get some rest, I see her rubbing his leg, and in his sleep, he's pushing her away. Every time she did, he immediately moved away from her, and you could tell it was bothering him, but he didn't say anything. Then I finally say, hey, can you go get some ice chips? So she leaves to go, and I'm like, Jake, can you tell your mom to leave? She's making me uncomfortable. And so when she came back in, he told her to come back when things were ramping up. At first she tried to fight him about it, but she eventually left. We didn't end up telling her when things were ramping up, and she didn't come back until baby was here, so ha! But then, when she finally gets to see baby, she goes, oh, they look just like me. Hey, Jake? Whatever, I don't see it. Now fast forward to 2 days ago. My mom has gone back home. She stayed with us for a few months while we were getting used to a new normal with the baby. Mother-in-law suggests she come over to be at the house while baby sleeps and we go out for a little date night. Jake says this is a great idea. So we get going. We have a lovely night. Like, honestly, so in love and everything feels right. We come back home and we're like, hey, we're home. But no one answers us. And we're like, okay, weird. Then we're like, Barb? Hello? Still nothing. In my mind, I'm like, wow, this witch has literally kidnapped our baby, and God knows what she's done with it, or where she is. So then we go upstairs, and Jake checks our baby's room, and I immediately go to our master, and I see mother-in-law pleasuring herself on her bed. I literally scream and shut the door. She screams. Jake comes over, and he's like, what? And he goes to open the door, and I'm like, no. And he's like, what? And I'm like, your mom is in there, and she's touching. And he goes, what? And then Barb calls out from the room and she is like, I didn't expect you guys to come home so soon. And Jake's like, Mom, get the F out here right now. And then she comes out after a couple of minutes. And Jake's like, what the hell were you doing in there? And she goes, I was just passing the time, trying out some of your stuff. And I'm like, my stuff? And she goes, oh yeah, I'll wash it. And I'm like, excuse me? And Jake's like, Mom, no, Jesus. And she literally is looking at us like we're the psychos here. Then I'm like, Mother-in-law, you need to leave. I don't trust you with our baby. I don't trust you with my husband. You've really crossed the line tonight. Then Jake is like, what the F, Mom? What the F? She plays dumb ends up leaving 10 minutes later. So, yeah. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I do not want this kind of behavior around our child. It makes me uncomfortable that she is acting sexually towards my husband, and if he won't defend himself, I will step in to protect him. Not only that, but if she's this way with my Jakey, then who's to say what she's going to be like with our baby? And now I just feel horrific for leaving our baby with her. Who knows what she did or could have done? Whoa, that's a lot. Your mother-in-law sounds like she's auditioning for a role in American Horror Story, In-Laws Edition. Yikes. It's like she mistook your bedroom for an Airbnb and thought she'd test out all the amenities. Honestly, she brings monster-in-law to a whole different and impossible level. It's hard to find words to capture the level of inappropriate behavior your mother-in-law has displayed. Her actions go beyond mere boundary crossing. They delve into deeply concerning territory that speaks to a lack of respect for personal boundaries, common decency, and familial dynamics. From her intrusive comments about your husband's physique to her blatant disregard for your privacy by snooping through your belongings, she's shown a pattern of behavior that is not only disrespectful, but also deeply unsettling. Her inappropriate gestures and remarks towards your husband are not just uncomfortable, they're outright wrong and disturbing. Ultimately, addressing this issue head on and taking steps to protect yourself and your family from further harm is crucial. You are most definitely not the a-hole, OP. Update 1. Okay, so a bunch of you have told me the obvious. I'm not the a-hole. But I feel like the a-hole for not saying something sooner. For not stepping up for Jake when he needed someone to. He hasn't actually opened up to me about how he's been treated by his mom his whole life, but we're working on going to therapy together and individually. Not only that, but we went no contact with Jake's mom, and his father-in-law came over to talk to us. We told him literally everything. Everything. And Jake and him even went into a separate room and had their own conversation. His father-in-law ended up apologizing to us both, but to specifically Jake. He feels awful for not seeing all of the warning signs earlier on and for not doing anything in protecting him from that abuse. His father-in-law went and rented an apartment for mother-in-law to move into. They're going to be selling that house that they live in, and they're currently going through a separation. Father-in-law filed for a divorce, and he knows because mother-in-law has never worked a day in her life, he has to give her basically everything. So he's not stoked about that because she doesn't deserve a cent. But yeah, so they're not living together. And basically it's starting to go around town just how weird she's been. And some of the football moms out there have even said that they thought that she was weird and overstepped her role as a trusted adult in the community. I guess someone who Jake used to play football with said that his mom made a move on him and touched him inappropriately. So now that's being investigated. I hate the fact that we share a name with this woman, and I hate myself for not saying something sooner. Your feelings of guilt and self-reflection are completely understandable given the situation you and Jake have found yourselves in. It's natural to second-guess ourselves and wish we had acted differently in hindsight. However, it's important to recognize that you are taking steps to address the issues now, and that's commendable. Going to therapy together and individually is a positive step towards healing and understanding each other's experiences. It's crucial to create a safe space where both of you can process your emotions and support each other through this challenging time. It's also encouraging to hear that Jake's father has taken responsibility for his past inaction and actively working to address the situation. His apology demonstrates a willingness to acknowledge the harm that has been done and take steps to make amends. Update 2. Well, mother-in-law was charged by the man who Jake used to play with back in junior high. In fact, she's going away for 30 years. When she was going through trial, she asked that father-in-law and family be there to support her, and that was a huge joke. Jake and his dad are slowly getting back on track and trying to repair what's there. Jake's dad is really trying, and he's even started doing therapy himself. Jake and I have been continuing with therapy, and we're doing really good. Jake seems to be feeling much better. He seems lighter, not holding things in. He doesn't look like he's carrying on to anything. Our communication is doing great. It's going to be a journey, but we're ready for what's ahead. We're welcoming this new chapter with open arms. We're just all moving forward and loving our new little normal. It's truly heartening to hear that you and Jake, along with his father, are making such positive strides forward despite the challenging circumstances you faced. The fact that your mother-in-law has been held accountable for her actions and is facing the consequences of her behavior is a significant step towards justice and closure. As you continue on this journey of healing and growth, Remember to celebrate the progress you've made and cherish the newfound sense of normalcy in your lives. Your resilience and determination are truly inspiring, and I wish you all the best as you continue to move forward together as a family. What are your thoughts? What would you have done? Share them with us in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell before you leave. We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's topic, so feel free to leave a comment. See you next time in the rLounge.